I think inside me is a 30-year-old woman. I should probably rethink how I phrase that. Hey everybody, it's Dan, and this is Dan Martin Likes You, and welcome back, and thank you so much for being here. This is going to be my January TBR. It's probably a week or two late, so three of the books I've already read. So the first three are just going to be quick mini reviews of the three books I've already read, and then I'll go into the rest of the month. So here we go. I would say rom-coms, romantic comedies are some of my favorites. They're some of my favorite movies to watch, but I've never actually read any rom-coms, or I'm going to assume that's because they're classified under chick lit, and I don't know if you know this or not, but by looking at me, I'm probably not the intended audience for chick lit. So I've never really picked them up. But then Leena Norms over at Justkissmyfrog, and I'll link her channel below. Last year, she raved about a book called Who's That Girl by author Vere McFarland. And I read it and I loved it and it was amazing. So I picked up this one, It's Not Me, It's You, which is the previous rom-com novel that she had written just before that one. And I would say this was a lot of fun. It's not as good as Who's That Girl. I think Who's That Girl is like of the two is my favorite, but this one is really good, and it's just a fun journey about a girl from Newcastle, England, finds out her boyfriend's cheating on her and heads down to London to hang out with a friend, and comedy ensues with a new dude. I would say that the plot of the book ends a little abruptly. Like the plot of there's a sort of caper that goes on, ends like 100 pages before the actual end of the book, and it ends in one succinct paragraph. That would be my one complaint of this. Otherwise, if you're looking for well-written female characters in the romantic comedy genre, this is well worth a read, and while it's about 530 pages, it'll take you probably 2 days to get through. Next up is Sweet Bitter by Stephanie Danler. Now, I had originally rated this 4 stars on Goodreads, but after letting it sink in for a couple of weeks, I'm downgrading it to 3. And this is gonna sound harsh. The reason, first of all, let me just say this. If you're looking for an excellent review of this book, head over to Whitney's channel, All My Shelves, or All the Shelves, I forget, I'm so sorry. But I will link it below, and Whitney does this excellent in-depth review of the book from a female perspective, and I highly encourage you to go watch that, because that's probably worth the watch, as opposed to my reasoning behind why I didn't like this book. Let me just say this, I like this book. I like it a lot. I didn't love it, and I think because ultimately, this is going to sound harsh, but this book felt like it was written by an MFA student in creative writing. And I don't know that I've ever said that about a book. That's not a knock on it in the sense that it's a bad book. It's a very good book. It's a very good story. I spent 8 years working in the hospitality industry. This book is about a girl who works in like the hottest restaurant in New York City, and there are a lot of similarities in the industries. So I found myself relating to it, especially because it's set in New York, which is where I spent most of my career in the hotel industry. But while this book is like technically wonderful and lots of beautiful sentences and metaphors, I just found it to lack a soul, and there was something about it that was missing in this book, and it's told in a very staccato fashion of snippets. I would not call them chapters. It reminds me of The Department of Speculation by Jenny Ofel, which is an amazing book, which is where snippets are done in a really incredible way. This one left me wanting. If you've ever wanted to go to space and wondered, how do they poop in space? Packing for Mars by Mary Roach is the book for you. This is, I've only read 2 books by Mary Roach. Very late last year, I read Grunt, which is her new one about the science of war on the human bodies. Not just fighting, but really more in a very Mary Roach way, the minutia of fighting a war. Like, how do people go to the bathroom out in the middle of the battlefield? And what do you do when you get sick? And what are the effects of a bullet going through a human body? Just like simple, sometimes funny, sometimes not funny at all things. So this one, Packing for Mars, deals with just human existence in outer space and what that means in zero gravity. There are some chapters in here like using the restroom, which is at the end of the book, which is honestly one of the most eye-opening and hilarious chapters, and something you don't think about when you're thinking about astronauts going to space. And there are snippets of actual dialogue from astronauts that was recorded about these topics, and those are the funniest bits in this book. Anyway, Mary Roach, very funny, always, I mean, she could write about anything and make it super interesting, so I highly recommend that one. For the rest of the month, let's talk about what I'm currently reading. I am about 50 pages into The Bear and the Nightingale. This is a fantasy/fairy tale book by first-time author Catherine Arden. This was literally just published about a week ago, and I am so enjoying this. It's set in Russia around the reign of Ivan II. I don't even know if that's a real person. I don't know. I'm sorry, I should know that, but I don't. But anyway, a long time ago. Let's just say that. There's no automobiles, okay? And they live way north of Moscow, and they have to get there on horseback, so that should give you an understanding of how far along ago that was. Great, awesome. Let's get to the next one. I had dinner with a friend the other night, and he recommended this book, and I had never heard of this book, and then I think there are like millions and millions of copies of this thing out in the world. That's The Alchemist, a book for those who don't know what their destiny is in life and really desperately want to know. I don't know, honestly, I know nothing about this book, but it kind of reminds me of like What Color Is Your Parachute? And I read that, and that was very interesting. And so this is thin, it's a thin little book, and I figured, why not? I can blow through that, and if I learn something about myself, what harm is it gonna do? Gratitude, Oliver Sacks. This is even tinier. It's a little, almost a pocketbook, but not really because it's hardcover. I don't know why it's hardcover. I know nothing about this one either, but Oliver Sacks is a well-renowned writer who I've never read anything by, and it just seemed like a very easy way into Oliver Sacks. I'm looking forward to it. By the way, if you've read Oliver Sacks or any of these books, please let me know what you guys think of these below. And lastly for the month, I complained in my last video, I think, about not reading enough science fiction for last year. So this year, for the end of the month, I picked up The Big Sheep by Robert Cross. Oh God, I'm probably mispronouncing that. This is set in 2039 in Los Angeles. The city has been divided into a civilized zone and an uncivilized zone, I think. And a genetically altered sheep has gone missing, and a detective is on the case. That's all I know about that one, and who doesn't like missing genetically altered sheep in a dystopian Los Angeles? So that's it. That is my January TBR-ish and a couple of mini reviews on books I've read. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. Please leave a comment below. Please let me know what you guys are reading. I hope you guys have a lovely week, and I will see you next weekend. Bye.